Hello, welcome. I'm Kelly, and this is Kelly Loves Books and Movies. Happy New Year! Today I'm going to talk about my favorite books that I read in 2024. I read 60 books total, which is a lot more than the last maybe 10 years or so of reading. And this is in no real particular order, but the top ones will be the top ones. So, first up, The Happiness of Pursuit. This is a book about, it says, a remarkable book that will both guide and inspire. The Happiness of Pursuit reveals how anyone can bring meaning into his or her life by undertaking a quest. And I read this because I have people I know and friends who have these big goals that are like, I want to do X, they're pretty big things like they're training for or preparing for, and I have never really had anything like that. And I was like, I don't know why, so I read this, and it kind of helped me focus. I still don't really have any big thing I want to do or I'm working toward, but I have some smaller things, and this kind of helped put all that in perspective. So yeah, one of my favorites of the year. Next up, and I know I've talked about this a couple times, Tough Broad. This is a book, the author, Caroline Paul, she went to, basically, the subtitle, From Boogie Boarding to Wing Walking, How Outdoor Adventure Improves Our Lives as We Age. So she went to these different groups of women who are doing different things. They're like middle-aged or older. Some of them were taking on new challenges. Like there's a couple of women she goes who had never learned to swim, and they were learning to swim for the first time in there. They were much older. She talks to a group of older ladies who boogie board together once a week, which was my favorite story in here. It's basically, as someone who is getting older and likes to do outdoorsy stuff, this was just right up my alley. Next up, Complicated Passion, The Life and Work of Anya Svarda. I came to her work 6 or 7 years ago, so and came to become a big fan of her work 6-7 years ago. And so this, obviously, when this came out, I had to read it. It certainly told me a lot I didn't know, some things I did know. There was an exhibit at the Academy Museum, and it had been there for over a year, and I knew I had to get there. So in November, I quick made a trip there because it is ending. If it has not ended yet, it is ending in the next week or two. So yeah, I had to make a quick trip to LA to make sure I caught it. Anya Svarda, filmmaker, one of the early people in the French New Wave. Besides film, she's very much just a visual artist with photography and collage, just visual arts, all visual arts pretty much. Loved it. I really need to get back to Paris and do my Anya Svarda pilgrimage. Probably not this year, hopefully next year. Definitely one of my favorite reads. And if you are interested in her at all, French New Wave, filmmaking, I would give this a try. Next up, I know I've talked about this before too, Blacktop Wasteland. Little bit of a gearhead. So this book is about Bug, who is a getaway driver. So fast cars, totally my thing. Kind of cliche, the criminal who's out of the business but gets roped in for one last score kind of thing. I just loved the story. I loved again, cars, fast. Love that. Yeah, absolutely love this book. Definitely. This is probably in my top 3 or 4. I don't know. Anyway, I loved it. I think you should read it if you haven't already. The other book I don't actually own a copy of, but as soon as I find maybe a nice used copy, I am going to buy it, and that is Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys is about boys at a reform school sort of deal, a residential school in Florida I don't have it here, so I can't look it up. I want to say like the 50s or 60s-ish. Anyway, as you know, you would think the conditions are pretty horrible. Boys are treated horribly, but yeah, it's just a great story. It's going to be a film soon, technically. I don't know when. It's driving me crazy. Like, it got its 1 week run in New York and LA for the Academy qualification, but it's like not anywhere it's not even in New York or LA other than that, and just really excited to see it. I wish it would come out. All right, next up, A Walk in the Park. A true story of a spectacular misadventure in the Grand Canyon. Again, I like the outdoorsy kind of stories. This is about Kevin and Pete, who decide they're gonna hike the length of the Grand Canyon, not up, not like rim to rim, but from the Lee's Canyon or Lee's Ferry to wherever the official end of the park is, all the way through lengthwise, down in, not at the river and not like on the rim, but like in the middle mostly. Yeah, they almost die like a gazillion times. But it also talks about, and they didn't do it all at once, even though that was their original plan. They luckily have people that kind of take pity on them and help them out all along the way, because they are woefully underprepared when they first start. Yeah, great story, great book. Need to get to the Grand Canyon. Maybe this year, probably not. Maybe next year. I have been to the North Rim. I've never been to the South Rim. And then my 2 favorite. I can't really pick between them. First up, Beartown. This is about the community in Sweden, small town, around their hockey team. Bad things happen, and it's sort of how the whole town and the team that puts hockey above everything, how they react. This is the first of a trilogy. I've read the second, which I didn't like that much, but it was good. And I'll read the third here soon. But yeah, I love this book. I like stories that have like a lot of different characters and you're seeing a lot of different points of view. And this obviously does that. So yeah, Beartown, one of my favorites. And then lastly, now in my end of the year book tag, there was that question like, is there anything you think you would read by the end of the year that could make it on your favorites list? And I was like, I don't think so. Well, I was wrong. This is it's definitely, maybe it's stuff, recency bias is a little bit in play here, but Olive Kitteridge, I absolutely love this book. It's basically set up more like a bunch of short stories that all kind of involve Olive in many ways, instead of like just this linear story. You get to know all the people of the town throughout decades and the goings on in the town and how Olive thinks about things and how she reacts to things. Yeah, it just definitely was my absolute I keep saying absolute favorite. Maybe it was, maybe it's Beartown. I still think recency bias is kind of putting this at the top of my list, even though maybe it isn't. I don't know. It's a great book. I loved it. So, all right, 2025. I don't really have any super big goals. Where's my, one second. All right. I wrote down a number, which is that I kind of want to hit, but it's not like a firm number. I'm not super invested in hitting a certain number, and I know there's a lot of talk around that, like you shouldn't set a number because it's bad, then you'll just be reading just to hit a number, and that's not how I feel like it. It just motivates me to read more. It's not a hard and fast number, so I'm not even going to say what it is, but it's more than I read last year, but not by much. Anyway, so I hope to read a lot. I am doing, the one thing I have at least committed to is the Proust In Search of Lost Time year-long readathon with, let's see, Randy Ray and Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads. So started this the other day. Well, yesterday actually. I'm a couple days behind, so I read the first 30 or so pages. We'll see how that goes. I'm not too optimistic at this point, but 30 pages. Hard to make any sort of judgment. As far as this channel, I believe I'm going to try to up it to 2 videos a week instead of I've just been doing 1. But we'll see. Once summer gets here and I get super busy, March is going to be a super busy month work-wise, so I'm going to try, but it might not always work out. So those are sort of my goals for 2025. I'm also trying to decide right now. I'm heading off on a vacation coming up this week. So I'm trying to decide what to bring with me because we'll have lots of reading time. But only so much room in my suitcase and carry-on. So whittling it down to what I should bring with me. And I was going to bring The Winners with me, but that's a pretty big book. So I'm trying to think of smaller books that can go in my suitcase a little better. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.